Hi guys, welcome back to Dirty Boots Bushcraft Solo Survival. Today I'm out here in the wood and we're going to make some birch oil using some birch bark. I'm going to make a campfire toasty for my lunch later on, which will be nice. Okay guys, so I'm going to start by processing this log into some smaller pieces. I've already cut it into some chunks, as you can see, but to help start the fire I'm just going to process it down a bit. Okay, so now we've split a bunch of bits of wood up and we're left with kind of nice little chunks like this, which would be great once we've got some sticks on the fire. It's quite brittle, it's very dry, which is great. I'm going to show you guys how to kind of baton wood with a knife. So once you get it to kind of this length, it's going to become, or this width rather, it's going to become really hard to use an axe to kind of split into finer bits. And it can be quite unsafe. Like, you can probably try and hold it like that and kind of smack the axe down, but that's not safe or the best way to do it. So what you need to do is just grab your knife. This is a new knife I've got. I had a Bushcraft one, but and it was absolutely fantastic and I still love it. I think I'm just going to retire it to kind of slightly less strenuous tasks. It started to get a bit blunt, so it's still fantastic, but I think I was putting it through a lot. So this is a marbles knife. I'm going to do a video on reviewing this knife because it's got some really cool features and the sheath is really cool. But yeah, so if you want to have a look at that, then check it out. It's a really nice looking knife, so, and it's really durable, so hopefully it'll be up to the task. So you just want to pop your wood like that, or probably more like that, and then you just want a kind of bit of wood to basically we're going to hit the knife with. Now I don't know how this is going to do, it might break because it's slightly rotted I think, but actually the wood on the inside looks alright, and it doesn't really matter, you can find anything that works. You could use a kind of, you could probably use your axe as well. I'm going to use wood for example in case you didn't have a hatchet with you. So yeah, you just want to place your knife like that and then just easy as that, and then it's much more maneuverable than a hatchet, so you could kind of split it even finer if you wanted to. So just get it kind of steady at the top, try not to do too much of an angle, try and get it quite straight down, otherwise it might not work. So you just want to tap it with the log. That wasn't great, but actually this is quite great. This is quite good because it's very fine at the end, so that would actually be quite good to start a fire with. Yeah, so I mean that's basically the process. I'm going to do one more here, so we've got some more fuel to start the fire with. Okay, so now we baton some logs. We're going to make a fire so we can get going with the birch oil later and cook my lunch. So we're going to use birch bark again. I've got some here. But just to show you guys how good this stuff is, I'm actually going to dip it in my bucket of water to put the fire out and show you just how good it is. So I'm going to fully submerge it, shake it off a bit, as if it had been heavily raining or something, or you'd submerged it in a river. So you can kind of shake this off as much as you can, but obviously if it's raining there's only so much you could do. Right, so I'm going to grab my fire steel and we will get going. Okay, so I've grabbed some sticks and a bit more birch bark should we need it. So yeah, normal tinder would be pretty useless after being submerged in water. It would take a long time to dry, so if you had kind of moss or probably even cotton wool or something. Maybe the only other thing that would be really good when submerged in water, or if it rained, would be cotton balls and petroleum jelly. That would probably be good and waterproof. That's because there's loads of natural oil in birch bark. That's what this kind of orange tint is. It's not the white outside, it's the orange kind of tanned colour on the inside of the bark. So let's go. There we go. As you can see, it all catches. It's not going to catch as well as if it was dry, but that is the black smoke that shows you all the oil's burning off. And it's still burning very hot. And there's a nice flame there, as you can see. So I'm just going to pop some of the first sticks on there. And once it kind of gets going, all of that wet birch bark is just going to completely go up. I'm going to add a slight bit more. Okay guys, so I'm now going to make some birch oil. So this is quite a lengthy process, but I'll show you how best to do it. So first things first, you want to grab just a kind of metal soup can like that. This is just going to be used to collect the oil basically. You probably want to, mine's quite dirty, so I'm just going to tap it and try and clean it out a bit. But yeah, so you don't want to use like an aluminium soda can, or well, like a can of Coke or something, because that will just melt in the fire and it won't hold the oil very well. First things first, we just want to kind of clear out any kind of debris in this fire pit. I built a separate fire pit just because you sometimes need different temperatures of fires. So my cooking fire, my main campfire rather, sometimes might need to be really, really hot. This is kind of a process where you want a low and slow fire, so you don't want it too hot, otherwise it's just gonna basically not work. Okay, so once you've dug a bit of a hole in the ground to put your can to collect the oil, just put it in. And then you kind of want to fill in the space around the can. So this is where we're going to put in the birch bark in this tin. I have tried this, I've done a bit of a test run very quickly before, which did work. It made some oil. In fact, you can kind of see there, there's a bit of dry oil there. So I've poked a hole in the bottom. It's about the size of a kind of maybe a pencil's diameter, or yeah, size of a pencil or a kind of biro. But the one problem with this is, as you can see, it's not going to funnel the oil because it's kind of domed upwards. So what we need to do is kind of hammer it down so it's like a funnel for the oil, and it will flow into the can. Okay, so I've used my hatchet and just my hands to kind of get more of a funnel. So I might do some more, but basically the idea is just want it to, so the oil can flow through that little hole we made there. So here's the lid of the container where the birch bark's going to go, and we're just going to put a small hole in the top of that, about the same size as the one in the bottom, just so the gases can escape. Okay, so I made it slightly bigger than I wanted to. I tried to get the point of my axe, but I accidentally sliced a bit too much. But I mean, this should be really malleable, so I just kind of hammered it back together. So now we can fill up our container with birch bark. Okay, so in terms of gathering your birch bark, the best way to do it, I've found, is just kind of peel it off a silver birch tree's kind of trunk. Obviously you don't want to ever kind of cut into the tree. You don't need the inner bark, and in fact that won't burn nearly as well. You just want the thin outer layer, but you definitely don't want to damage the tree. The best way to do it is if there's a kind of dead birch tree, because the oil in the birch bark stops kind of rot, so it should kind of remain completely usable even if the tree is dead. But yeah, you definitely don't want to hurt the tree by cutting away its bark. So yeah, you can absolutely kind of just peel it off a tree. I found that's definitely the best method. However, you can also just peel it off a kind of limb of a birch tree. So what we'll do is you can just kind of, well, score it with your knife, I guess. Maybe kind of like that. I'll just show you. Once you've scored it, it should come off quite nicely with your fingers. So this should work. It's actually quite yellow, and I believe that the kind of colour we want is more kind of this colour. But I believe the darker the orange, the kind of more resinous the bark is. I think maybe if we go to one of the earlier layers, yeah, that's slightly darker. I mean, if you guys know, leave a comment in the video down below so you could let us know. But this should still work. I mean, you can kind of smell the oil almost, and also it's kind of tacky when you run your finger across it, so you can kind of tell it's quite oily. Okay, so I have prepared all the birch bark. We've got about one large shopping bag full. I mean, it depends how much oil you want to make, and if you want to make oil or tar, because obviously if you kind of keep heating oil for longer, it'll become thicker and eventually make birch tar, which is kind of what you'd use as glue. But you want to kind of jam pack as much as you can into that metal container there. I've got about one large shopping bag, like I said, but you probably could use more. I mean, the more you get, the more kind of oil or tar you're going to get, so keep that in mind. You need more than you think, because birch bark is obviously very thin, so it might look like there's a lot, but in fact there isn't. We just want to start packing as much in as we can. It's going to go everywhere, but that's fine. See, there's the hole there. Like I said, just make sure it's kind of covered. I'm going to place a few rocks, or maybe two. Yeah, I'm going to place 2 rocks just on the top of that to keep the lid from coming off. And then you just feel around the lid, make sure you can't feel any big gaps like I can there. So we'll grab another rock and put that down, and in fact we'll do 4, just because it will make sure that it's sealed. It's been about an hour and a half of cooking the birch bark. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to turn out. It's my first time doing it, but in theory we should have at least some birch oil or tar. So it's been cooking quite low and slow for a while. As you can see, it's not a massive fire. We're just going to take all of the logs off. So this is going to be quite hard to film because this is so hot, so hopefully my GoPro is okay. But as you can see, I've actually let this cook for longer than I thought. I actually checked the time, and it's been more like 2.5 hours instead of 1.5. So we actually do have some tar, so it's turned into tar, which is fine. Oil would be slightly more watery, obviously. Okay, so I let it cool down for a minute, and I used my axe and my shovel to take it out the fire. And as you can see, it's still really, really hot. We have a nice blob of birch tar. Now you don't need a lot. I mean, it's a bit like wax. A lot can go a long way. So, and tar is obviously more kind of, it's thicker, so, but it also burns for a long time. So what I'm going to do is try and pry that off. So yeah, I prized this off with my knife, and here is a really nice, pure lump of birch tar. So there was a little bit more in the bottom of the can. There was a bit more in there, but it had, I think I should have kind of tried to use a stick to collect all of it before I let it dry. But now there's a bit more in there. I think obviously the more you refine your technique and the more you're able to control your fire, the easier this is going to be. I have learned today that I think you should kind of check it as early as you can. I think maybe after about 1.5 hours you should definitely check it. The most important thing is seals, so the seal between the metal tin and the pot underneath. I mean, like I said, today was more of a kind of how the theory works and the kind of way to do it, more than making loads of it. Obviously we've made some, and this is perfectly usable birch tar. But if you wanted to make a bit more, which I might try again in another video another time, is you just, like I said, need a lot more birch bark. But yeah, so what can you use this for? So if I was to heat this up, it would make a really, really nice glue. Obviously you saw it's still slightly, saw it just snap then. It's still slightly sticky on the inside. This is amazing stuff. I believe you can use this as mosquito repellent or bug repellent if you burn it on a kind of stick near your camp. This is actually, I mean, I cracked a bit off there, but this is actually really, really tough. This is really, really tough stuff. It's going to take a lot to kind of break this if you were to attach, I don't know, like a flint knife handle to a flint blade, if you were trying to make a kind of primitive, if you were trying to make a primitive survival knife or something. I mean, this is really, really strong, so it is used as a glue. Like I said, it's bug repellent. Also, it's just a really easy kind of fire source. I wouldn't say it's the easiest tinder to ignite. I think fat wood's my preferred method because you can get shavings, and it's the finer it is, obviously it's easier to ignite. This you can't really make fine. You can get a little bit of it and maybe try and shave it, but there are better kind of tinders to use. However, this is oil or tar, so it's going to burn for a very long time, and it's going to, more importantly, burn really, really hot. We'll try and get this little bit to ignite so I can kind of show you how well it burns. See, I've got a cotton ball. I've got a couple of cotton balls here. We're just going to kind of break them up a little bit, and then just pop these bits of tar in like that, and then hopefully it acts a bit like petroleum jelly, where once it gets going, there we are, as you can see, it's already starting to melt. Cotton wool doesn't really burn very hot, so it'll take a minute. As you can see, it's already starting to and turn into liquid. I mean, it's still burning, you might struggle to see it on the camera a little bit. But yeah, there is a flame there. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but as you can see, the cotton ball's kind of gone out and the flame from the oil hasn't. Okay, I'm going to make some food. I'm going to make a grilled cheese toasty now. So I'm going to arrange my cooking stand over some hot coals and then we can get going. Okay guys, that's the end of today's video on how to make birch oil and a kind of solo bushcraft survival day down in the woods. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this really useful. Please do let me know if you have any questions or suggestions in the comments down below. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, as that would help us out a lot. But yeah, thank you guys, see you next time.